For the Press Corps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you the latest news from the Siva Valley conflict. Here in the 108th conflict of the Foxhole War, it's Day 7. Front lines on the mainland continue to straighten along the banks of the River Mersey as island regions begin to solidify around respective factions. A reminder that the Press Corps is focused on Able Shard. Combined casualties for this war are over 149,000, with the Wardens at a plus 7% share of those losses. The Klostra is the deadliest region with over 19,000 total dead. Currently, both factions are suffering a total of over 22,000 dead per hour. These numbers are provided by FoxholeStats.com. We'll be joined by live correspondents from the front line with Lucas Parker shortly after we continue our rundown of the world map here, and we're going to pass it off to Pedro Dumont, who brings us info from the front lines. Pedro?
Thank you, Geoffrey. Wardens in Fisherman's Row break through the last colonial holdout in Arcadia, the first regional lockdown of the war. In Godcrofts, Wardens take the outset after prolonged fighting in human wave tactics from the Spud Regiment, leaving a single relic base in the corner of the region. A landing attempt was made with 4 barges and over a dozen Seavish troops, but these were quickly gunned down. Meanwhile, in the Fingers, the inverse has happened, with Colonials sweeping through the western half of the region. In the King's Cage, Wardens advance to the center of the city, the Manacle, taking the appropriately named East Knife and establishing positions on the southern ends of other bridges, opening up approaches to the Manacle from the west and east. In Farnack Coast, Colonials cling to the Husk Hollow and to the dual safe houses at Apollo's Landing. Should the colonies be ejected from these positions, the River Mersey will eventually be evenly split up between blue and green lines. Meanwhile, Wardens open up a flank in the eastern bridge near Maka's Keening, making contact with bottom thirds of the region. In the Drowned Vale, the collies have just locked down the region, having ejected the Wardens from Loggerhead and Wisp's Warning. This is the first colonial regional lockdown of the war, following the Warden lockdown of Fisherman's Row that we have just reported. In the Orbreaker Isles, Wardens have made landfall in the southwestern corner of the region, capturing Dirk's relic base. Legionary forces are currently fighting to hold the line to prevent further advance on Integrum. In the Klostra, where the fighting is the bloodiest, Wardens fight to maintain control of the treasury, making contact with the town center after breaking into the southern half of the city. We pass the broadcast now to Geoffrey, who will make a special analysis on the entire first few days of the war.
The fighting on land had seen a clear cut across the River Mersey at war start, with Warden staging north and Colonials south. Meanwhile, on the island regions to the far east and far west, an intertwining mix of blue and green, as shallow water skirmishes are predicted and have erupted along the coastlines of these new strategic locations. Motorboats and barges used in precarious ways have managed to make fast-moving and rapid island-hopping campaigns so far, as we saw with Fisherman's Row and Godcrofts, where the Wardens pushed out the collies, and the Fingers, where the collies were able to flank Warden positions along the other western half of the region. Orbreaker Isles continues to be one of the most contentious and fluid island regions remaining here in the opening stage of the war. As Pedro had mentioned earlier, the fighting in Integrum continues to be bloody, with the Wardens in the north and the Colonials in the south. Resource distribution for the start of the war had seen some interesting developments. In Stone Cradle for the Wardens and Allied's Bite for the Colonials, 6 oil fields for each region, the most of any other region, including the far northern and far southern regions, which are considered to be safe. The Deadlands is home to 4 coal fields, as are Cal's Pass in the north and Umbral Wildwood to the direct south. Analysts say these regions are slated to become central points for a variety of Warden and Colonial facilities in the near future. 6 coal fields can be found in both the Weathered Expanse for the Wardens and Sableport for the Colonials, the most of any region in the war. Siva's Reaching Trail and the Velian-controlled Great March have 3 sulfur mines and 2 sulfur fields each, predictable and central locations in the north and the south, respectively. Each of the island regions, the first seen island regions here in the war, without any kind of bridges, but completely separate island regions, have 2 oil rigs in each region, while the coastal regions have 1. None of the inland regions have oil rigs for obvious reasons, considering that they are far from the open water, the blue water, deep sea water. Reports also show that all component deposits are located in the far northern and far southern regions, though we are unable to hone in on their precise locations. Looking at other news, Moose Jenkins and the 14 ELS Regiment, the French-based 14 ELS Regiment, were spotted on broadcast conducting amphibious operations with numerous barges and motorboats in an unknown region. The group is predicted to be operating with over a dozen troops and raiding colonial coastal positions. Meanwhile, the Winter Legion Logistics Regiment, led by Cronus Winter, as well as aided by fellow broadcaster Katie, was seen on his broadcast working with the Brazilian UBGE Regiment to establish facilities in Red River and Calakai, focusing on coal, oil, and high explosives. Plenty other broadcasters in a variety of capacities have participated in the war thus far in its first 7 days. At one point, we were able to count at least 85 simultaneous broadcasters on Twitch that we can confirm that are officially broadcasting Foxhole, and that's not even counting the ones, say, on YouTube, or the ones that didn't put Foxhole in their description, but over 85 simultaneous broadcasters participating here in War 108. It has been a whirlwind opening week here in the war so far, and there are plenty more actions and tragedies and advances and retreats to come here in the Foxhole War. A slight addendum here for the weather, passing it off to Pedro, but my goodness, what a war we have on our hands.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for the summary. Weather remains fair so far, with several sunny locations all across Diva.
Make sure to stop by PressCorpsGaming.com/weather for the latest weather readings gathered by our volunteer Storm Chaser Corps and become a Storm Chaser yourself. Well, before we close out the broadcast, we are bringing back our live correspondence here on the front lines with Lucas Parker. I believe he is embedded with a Warden unit at the current moment. Lucas, can you hear us out there on the battlefield? Again, please note that we may run into some audio issues, but it is a hectic fight out there on the front lines.
Yes, Geoffrey, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm currently stationed.
We have 4 people on wait.
Boat's rocking a little bit much. I'm currently stationed on a Warden landing ship. I mean, it's a barge. I don't think the landing ships are out quite yet, are they?
They're using the barges as landing ships. You're right. Now, no landing ships have been reported yet. They can only come from the specialized base ships. So it's been a lot of barge hopping around lately.
Barge-on-barge engagements have also been frequently seen and are common in the war so far.
Can you disclose to us where your location is, or is that more of a secret at the current moment?
Yes, I am actually in Godcrofts. I can't give you much more than that. The Wardens are doing naval operations in Godcrofts to take the last remaining colonial-held island of what's the name here? Lipsia? Yes, Lipsia. Where they are landing from, where the actual landing waves are originating from, I cannot disclose. However, I can tell you where they are going.
Victor, get over here.
We are currently staging a landing right now. There's a group of infantry loading onto this barge with me.
There's another barge further out you could go.
Let's see if I can actually get an interview from one of these brave soldiers that's going to make an attempt at a landing. POC Viper here. How many attempts have the Wardens made so far at taking this island? Do you know?
I just got here.
I see.
Several so far, and they're all
several so far.
My second attempt.
All right. Do you know anything about how the colonial island is set up defense-wise? What is your attack
They've
strategy,
got
if you don't mind
plenty of
disclosing that?
machine gun garrisons.
They have plenty of machine guns, as you said. There is a small
it's around,
open
they got
area
plenty of
where
power.
we have been able to land, but they are
With me that are ready to make a landing assault on this island, and I am here to give you live reporting as that occurs. As this barge operator maneuvers us into position.
Do you want me to give you the rundown on our current options for attacking the island?
If you don't mind disclosing that, please do.
Currently we don't have much until we take boats. Only real options are getting lucky with a mammon cutting off their lodging, which is going to take ages. Oh, that's friendly.
Hey, neighbor.
So only
Just
options
encountered
are
another
getting a
friendly
lucky
barge
mammon,
with a wounded
back
soldier on
their
it.
their defenses and then taking it out, or cutting off lodging.
I'm
which
gonna
is
go to the front.
forever.
Don't worry.
Plus, we'd actually have to burn through their 2,000 shards, which is going to take forever.
Here we go, the landing is being made. I think, I'm not
No,
sure.
not here.
There's a colonial on the beach line. Seems the landing has been waived momentarily as the wardens open fire from their barge. Slowly skirting around the south side of this island here. It's being very, very cautious about how they approach this island, because once you make landfall on these islands, there's no cover or AI defenses to back you.
Nice shot,
Wardens opening fire again. I'm unsure. Yep, no, they did. They
Yes,
did take down the
you.
colonial soldier on the island that was garrisoned.
Good luck, cool.
Barge is maneuvering further south. It
That's
seems
those
like they might want to
machine
make an
guns.
attempt on the island that Ellipsia is on itself.
They got a sandbag wall in progress.
Barge is moving on to the island. About to make landfall. Gate is dropping. Warden infantry is pouring out of the barge at the moment, taking up positions
Sandbag wall is
on that
sandbag
shore.
wall.
This is a
And they have
very,
a right
very
to
tight
move
shoreline. There's maybe 10, 15 meters of horizontal length here for them to take, and almost nowhere to retreat to because that beach immediately ends in a rock wall, rock mountain almost. I'm behind the Warden infantry at the moment as they spar with the Colonial infantry. Colonials do have a sandbag line that they're using to their defense. There are two pillboxes as well, followed immediately by a defensive line of bunkers. Islands are going to be very hard to take with bunkers behind them because, well, as we know, the infantry can only carry so much in their landing waves, and unlike a normal front line where they can go back and resupply is not an option in a naval invasion.
Uh-oh.
There's another barge pulling up on the left. I don't think it's friendly. Colonials advancing on the Warden positions.
Enemy barge, enemy barge.
It seems the Warden have lost a man or two.
Other side
Very
rocks.
stalwart attempt at trying to take this island. Colonials making a very, very strong advance onto the Wardens here. Wardens starting to retreat towards their barge. 2, 3, maybe 4 Colonials making advancements on that. A grenade thrown into the barge wounds one of the soldiers. It's just me and one other soldier here, retreating now. Some of the Colonials have won that engagement so far. They have quite the equipment superiority here. Warden's now retreating with their barge back towards the staging point. Only so much it seems you can do with limited equipment at the moment.
For just joining us, PressCorps Warden correspondent Lucas Parker reporting live from Godcrofts for a Warden raid, amphibious raid in around the last colonial position in the region, that being the relic base of Ellipsia.
Lucas, how are you doing?
Lord.
Have you been hurt?
Jeffrey, I think I might have to take my leave here. I am bleeding.
Oh, Lord.
We'll tune in a moment. We're making a run back to the staging point, but I'm gonna have to let you go here for a moment.
Well, do keep yourself safe, and I expect to hear from you soon.
Yeah.
PressCorps Warden correspondent Lucas Parker. Well, that's about all we have for the moment. Please be advised that news continues to develop even long after we are far away from our microphones. So make sure to stop by the PressCorps Discord through the link below if you're on our Twitch stream, if you're on our Twitch channel, and stay in tune and help us attain this information that we might be able to have more ammunition to fire out in the airwaves. So for the PressCorps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings, And along me here side is Pedro Dumont. I had him hanging earlier. I left him hanging earlier when I told him one thing, and then I did a completely different thing. So yes, Pedro Dumont joining me here on the broadcast as well. Pedro, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure.
Absolutely. For the Press Corps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings. Good night, good fight. We expect to be back on the broadcast soon enough.
Thank you, good night, and on with the show.
The Press Corps is an all-volunteer creative collective of reporters, broadcasters, artists, and more from the MMO video game Foxhole, developed by Siege Camp. Our mission is to engross our audience in and amplify the stories of this unique war ecosystem. The Press Corps was founded in 2018 by former Planetside 2 Radio Free Auraxis host, CaptainInArms. It is a separate community entity and is not officially representative of Siege Camp. For more information, visit our website at PressCorpsGaming.com. That's PressCorps Gaming.com.